Welcome to Kitchen Table Conversations. My name is Dr. Janetta Edwards, and I am the founder and CEO of this nonprofit organization. And I'm here tonight to kick off this, our first conversation with my daughter, Tanisha Lewis. Tanisha was my first. And when I had Tanisha as a teenage mom, I was a single mom for at least 7 years before I married my husband. I'm going to start off with saying that this organization was given to me more than 20 plus years ago when I was working at my church and I was assigned to work with the young women in the church. So I have more than 20 plus years of mentoring, working with young women, and God just dropped this gift in my spirit. It lay dormant for a long time until maybe 8 years ago when life was rebirthed in this organization, and so I went and decided to sign up for a doc program, and in the doc program, I was able to revitalize Mother's Love Community Organization. So I'm excited to begin this journey and having my daughter and my son behind the camera supporting me in this effort. So tonight, I want to ask you a question. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about yourself and the journey to motherhood.
A little bit about me. I am the oldest of three on my mom's side. I'm the oldest girl on my dad's side. I decided to relocate to Arizona in 2006. My journey to becoming a mother was intentional. I know most pregnancies are surprises, but fortunately for me, I was able to pursue that opportunity through foster care, which led into adoption. I've been a mother since 2017. My son is now 10. He'll be 11 in October. So in September. I'm
September.
not a bad mom now. My son will be 11 in September, September 4th. The journey to becoming a mother led me to, well, my passion is kids. I'm a teacher. My passion has always been children. Like I said, I'm the oldest of my brothers. I'm the first of my generation. So I literally helped raise my cousins. We were just talking about how we would make them breakfast and stand in line, and the youngest would go first, all the way down to I fed the oldest. So again, my journey to motherhood has been very intentional, considering I chose to be a mother.
Thank you. That was a very good answer.
Thank you. It wasn't textbook, but it was mine.
Well, we don't want textbook
Right.
today. We want, right off the cuff. So this conversation will start out on talking about personal experience and identity. In what ways does your cultural identity shape your parenting?
Cultural identity is funny because, as you can see, I'm African American. I'm from the United States. We have a background when it comes to parenting. I know our cultural background plays a huge part because we demand respect. Sometimes we could be a little strict, but I think it all comes from generational existence, generational experience, and coming from where our grandfathers and great grandparents and great grandmothers had to be respectful. There are certain things we could not do. I grew up getting whoopings. I think that's part of a cultural black experience. But it's made me into the woman who I am today. I believe my child, we depend on discipline in our cultural experience, I believe. I think we are moving away from just the discipline. I do believe we need a lot of discipline and a lot of love at the same time. But in all honesty, I think our cultural background, there's a lot of discipline that comes with being from our community.
Thank you for that answer. I kind of agree with that to a certain extent that discipline is necessary and needed. and each generation decides what that looks like. What my mother did and her ability to raise four children after my dad died was different. Um, my mother had to be extremely disciplined with us. We grew up in an impoverished community, which required us to be safe. And so, for us to be safe, she had to have certain guidelines that we could not cross. Okay. So, yeah, I grew up getting whoopings too. But what I realized is with my children, I wanted to do something different. I kept saying I'm going to be different from my mother. But in fact, I turned out to be very much like my mother in many cases, to the point when it comes to education. I'm very, very big on educating. My mother told me no one can take your education away from you. Have that and nobody can take it. Know your rights, right? And so for me, it was important for discipline, but it was even more important for them to be educated and to think on their feet and to be able to outthink and conceptualize the next person. So that was something that my mother was big on education and reading, but I believe I tried to take it to the next level for our children. All of our children are college educated, and not that it makes them better, but it just changes the trajectory of and the options that children have when they grow up to become adults.
I'm gonna add on to that because I do firmly believe education is a foundation of a lot of our cultural experience, the cultural background. Me myself personally, I also believe that I instill that in my son. I do want him to be educated. I do understand though, as a teacher, um, learning challenges are uh, they're present. They're not without, they're in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main things that I strive for my son, not just education, is also independence. Um, and that's one of the main things that I strive to have for my son is independence along with his education.
Independence in what area?
Um, just being dependent upon yourself. Independence, just having the tenacity, the go getterism within yourself. Not depending on people. And like I said, I have an amazing support system, but I also want people to. I also want my son to understand that he is his sole focus of success. You know, and I want to instill that in him.
So it's dependent on him to be the getter.
Mm-hmm.
He got to go get it on his own. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
going to get it for him.
Nope.
Nobody's going to
There's no
hand him
handouts.
anything, right? And
I think
so,
that's a cultural experience too, considering when you say culture is so, it's so
broad.
broad.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say cultural, and I think of um, history, and I think of where we've come, and I think of the transgressions, and I think of everything that we have surpassed in order just to be here to have this conversation today, it's just an amazing spectrum, and I will hope that our future continues to build upon that platform. You
I
know?
agree. I agree. Thank you for that. So the next topic I want to talk about is challenges and resilience, which is a great segue from what you talked about in wanting your son to be self-sufficient. And he has to be the one that goes out and get it and not depend on other people to get it for him.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. So the next question I want to ask you, um, are there specific moments you particularly proud of overcoming?
Particular moments. I mean, if you want to be honest, I'm proud of being able to continue on through the transgressions that I have. I'm gonna say my divorce. That was one of the hardest things that I had to experience. That was a challenge for me. And in all honesty, I didn't even have children. I think the marriage was more tumultuous than the divorce itself. I'm proud that I've able to continue on my path to success, even after such a treacherous past. Another thing that I'm extremely proud of myself is being able to move to Arizona with nothing but a duffel bag And now I could say I own my own home. I have a child. I was working for Chase for 11 years. I've gotten a bachelor's degree. I've gotten my master's degree. I mean, I just don't stop. I'm like my mom and my grandma. I'm like a mini Janetta, a mini Ethel. Um, I'm just proud of the accomplishments that I have under my belt. I'm proud about the fact that I went back to school to get a certification in medical coding and billing, so that I can start to build my own business. Um, I'm just proud of my tenacity. I'm proud of not giving up. I'm proud of myself not quitting. I'm proud of myself see the silver lining through all the struggles. I'm just proud that I don't stop. I don't know how to stop. I have to have it. There's no other way. So I'm just proud of my tenacity. I'm proud that my foundation and the things that my parents have instilled in me are still present in me, and I'm still using them to this day.
I'm sure it didn't feel like that when you was growing up.
When I was growing up, man, when I was growing up, I think I've always been pretty bullheaded, maybe. I've always wanted to do my own thing. I'm an Aries. Let's just get that out the way. So I feel like there is no stopping some certain people. I'm not going to attribute it to my zodiac sign, but some people have the go-getterism mentality. That's why we have people like Jeff Bezos and Nikola Tesla and people who have made marks on our history, because we have people who refuse to quit or refuse to take no for an answer. So no, it didn't always feel like that when I was growing up. I felt kind of stifled. I felt kind of muffled. I felt like I needed to move around, and I did that as soon as I could,
Hmm.
and I was able to overcome a lot of concerns. My mom, she was worried, y'all. She was a little worried. She tried to send me to the military. Y'all remember that? Hey, but
Yes.
I mean, I'm gonna keep it all the way, but
Hmm.
I didn't pass the drug test. so, they,
I think that was on
so
purpose.
they sent me back.
I think that was. She had no problems with testing, with scoring, with her level of intelligence. That was never an issue. I think it was a that she did that purposely because that
It
wasn't what she
wasn't on
wanted to do.
purpose.
And I'm grateful that you didn't go. I'm grateful of the path
Yeah.
that you took, and it was the path that you needed to take. So I'm grateful for that.
It
I
wasn't purposefully, but I was in the world.
You was in the
I
world,
was in the world.
and we all got some worldly stuff that we didn't
Mm-hmm.
did, but I ain't talking about that today. I'm gonna stay focused, and I want to say the moment I'm proud of overcoming is breast cancer. Being diagnosed with breast cancer, triple negative, um, and it wasn't anything biological. It was just something that came up, and I had been accepted into the doc program, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer in like July, and I was starting the program in August. And I had a few people tell me, well, why don't you just, take a break? You don't need to, why don't you just take, I was like, nope, you don't know my mama. My mama told me there's no such thing as I can't. So I said, I can't. I can't stop. I have to do this. So even when the chemo was running through my veins, I would be at the chemo place with my book doing homework. I would when I couldn't sleep, I would be up to 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning doing homework. And I'm glad that I did that because it was that push that I wanted to be successful in achieving the goal. And I set the tone for my children. So my thing is this for my children. I set the bar. Now either you meet it or beat it. You want to come forward. That's what I tell them. That's what they know. This is my mark. You don't have to get it, but this was my goal. And breast cancer wasn't going to be the thing that stopped me because as a little girl, my mother told me there's no such word as I can't. You can do anything you set your mind to. You go in there, you tell them what type of job you want. You go in there, and I didn't have the confidence as a young woman that I have now. And I look at my children and they walk in a level of confidence I never had at their age. So at this big old age of 60, um, uh, I do walk in confidence and I do have some insecure and some insecurities, and that's normal. But what I won't do is let somebody tell me what I can't do, right? So here we are, cancer free, almost going on 6 years now,
Wow.
and graduated 2 years ago from the doc program, and this is just the beginning. I'm just getting kind of started. I should be slowing down, but I feel like I'm just getting started. But it's setting the tone for my grandchildren and my great grandchildren. I want them to say, "Yeah, I'm going through a rough time, but I have people who went before me and showed me even a rough time didn't stop them. So come on, let's do this, right?
Let's make it happen,
Let's
Cam.
make it happen, right? We all gonna have businesses, LLCs, now whatever it is we need to have. That's what we gonna do. So the next question is: do you feel that community resources have met your needs? And community resources can be churches, organizations, family, the government.
I will say this. I have a friend who I'm the godmother of her children. And I can tell you one thing about that girl is she gonna find her some resources. When it comes to bills, rent, utilities, childcare, shelters. One thing about her is she's gonna find those resources. Me personally, I haven't had a reason, thank goodness, that I've had to tap into those resources. I mean, the support system that I have as far as my family, my sorority, my mom, my dad, my brothers, sisters, my family, and my sorority are my biggest support system. What I would like to see are more organizations, and I know they're out there. I just wish they were more heavily advertised, especially in communities where they know there are a lot of possible single mothers, or single parents. I won't even just say single
Yes,
mothers, but
yes,
single parents.
yes.
I would appreciate that they have the resources to bring those companies and those
To the
organizations
forefront.
into
Mm-hmm.
light, so that any event we do need those support systems, that they're available and we know how to use them, access and utilize them. But I couldn't say personally that I know of any outside of my own personal resources or organizations that are dedicated and built to helping mothers. I would like to see more of that.
So within your ecosystem, you have a good ecosystem that supports you in being a mom, and with your family and sorority and other moms, y'all help each other do what you need to do. I find it to be very interesting. You said the word find, find, find. She will find resources, right? And
She don't play
nothing
no games.
and there's nothing wrong with fine, but what about that mother who doesn't have that get up and go to fine? Recently, I was contacted about Pampers for a mom who didn't have Pampers for her baby, for two babies. She needed a 4 and a 7. And so I sent out emails and texts asking people, did they know? And nobody at that time didn't know. So Mother's Love supported that family by Amazon and some Pampers over. But after that, I received two texts of companies that provide Pampers for parents. I'm like, okay, this is a resource I'm going to put on my website. So, Mother's Love Community organization is going to be set up where every resource I get, I'm not going to gatekeep. I'm going to put it out there for anybody who needs it, not just for moms, but for any parent who
Parents,
need it. Because
grandparents.
I was married and had 3 kids, and we still need help. So, having a husband or having a partner or wife doesn't necessarily mean that you are in a position that you don't need help. So, the goal of Mother's Love is to support the community. Thank you for your answer. The next answer question I want to ask about parenting approach. What values do you feel are most important for you to instill in your children or your child?
Um, some of the main values comes from my core, my foundation, of course, education. Um, Not giving up, not quitting. I can't. Um, very independent, um, and just always willing to sacrifice in order to gain a greater understanding or a greater level of education or your standpoint. But my greatest values would be education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. For me, the biggest value for me for my children was them having a connection to God, that they had that foundation, and how they decided to live out that foundation for them is their choice as adults. But as children, we didn't send them to church. We took them to church. We participated in church. Church is not always a good place for everybody, but for us, my family, I'll speak for me, it was a good place to lay a foundation, that when they grew up, they had something to lean into should they need it. Of course, education, love and respect for one another, love and respect for yourself. That is most important, because if you love and respect yourself, then you'll set the right boundaries to prevent people from crossing over. And so, me as a therapist, boundaries are not for other people, boundaries are for you. Boundaries are to keep you safe. Boundaries are to keep you at stasis. Boundaries are to keep your head on straight, and make sure that you are at peace with self. So that for me was something important in teaching my children. A follow up question on that for a parenting approach is, what's one piece of advice you always give your children?
It's funny. And when I say my children, I'm not even just thinking about my son. I'm thinking about my kids at school,
Mm-hmm.
my eighth graders that I teach. One of the things that I wrote on my board, and I may seem kind of harsh, just because I'm not the like I don't want to hear it. One of my biggest things is I don't want to hear excuses. I only want to see results. So, and then that comes, it sounds like there's no compassion inside of it, but there's a lot of compassion housed in that saying, simply because sometimes, like my mom told me, you got to put your big girl underwear on, you got to put your big boy underwear on, and you got to face the world head on. One of my biggest things is sometimes you got to take a L, and then you got to get up and keep pushing. And another thing that I live by is that you can't expect other people to do for you what you would do for them. That's one of the things that my mom, I grew up hearing this all the time. And I believe it's because I had so much faith in my friends, and some of my friends let me down. Luckily for me, I'm a pretty good people picker. It's not many people who've come into my life that have exited on bad terms. I'm not, I don't know how to say this without making it sound bad, but I'm not a people person. So I choose my circle wisely. So those are the two things that I live by.
Okay. Those are good things to live by. And what you just described earlier, when you say your kids come to you and you're like, I ain't playing. I don't have time for that.
Look at me
Solution focus.
violin. Yeah.
If you're gonna come, so for me, and I didn't even know that solution focus was a thing when raising you and your brothers. Don't come to me with a problem. Come to me with a problem and a
How
solution.
you want to fix it?
Okay, this your problem. So now the next thing is, what's the process in fixing it? How we gonna get to the next level, right? You can't just sit there and say, "Oh, I got a problem." Okay, so now what? Okay, because I'm not gonna always be around and I'm not gonna always feed you. So teaching them how to fish for themselves so that they don't have to depend on somebody else, and to teach them how to think. And the strongest muscle on your body is your what?
Brain.
That's what I told him. The strongest muscle in your body is your brain. You have the ability to outthink the next person, because my mama gave it to me and I've given it to all of you. You have to think on your feet. Always be able to think on your feet. Always have that plan in your head, right? No plan is a plan to what?
Fail.
Fail. So those are some of the things that I've shared with my children and I share with my grandchildren all the time. Even as much as speaking to them, reversing a sentence and speaking to them and garble up the sentence, and they have to have the ability to know what it is I'm saying. Because people will garble up stuff to you and try to dish it to you, but you should be able to decipher what it is their true intentions are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that. So moving on to the next set of questions: social perception and representation. How do you feel society views Black single mothers?
How society, honestly, I believe there is. So I'll say that in the media they're represented in a certain way, but I feel like deep down inside, deep down in that core, they know that Black single women are basically the foundation of a lot of excellence. Um, I believe we are viewed as they say, oh, they're not married, or they can't keep no man, or they don't know how to raise men, and I think that's just propaganda. But I know for a fact, Black single women are basically the foundation of a lot of greatness in this country. When you think back to the 60s and 70s, I mean, the family dynamic was different. You move to the 80s and 90s, the family dynamic changed because of cultural influences. But I believe the way they are viewed in the media is not actually the way they are viewed personally from a person's internal, source.
Good answer. I believe Black people as a culture, we're not really being viewed at the level that we really are. So the propaganda of who we are and who they expect us to be and who they, pull up by your bootstraps. Man, we ain't had no boots, but we still pulled up and we did what we needed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have this or we didn't have that. Struggling, a single mom. My mother was a single mom after my dad died, and she worked two and three jobs to take care of us, doing what she needed to do out there, hustling, making it happen to make sure that her four children had everything we needed. We never had to live with nobody. We never lived on the street. Were we hungry sometimes? Yes. Did we have no lights and gas sometimes? Yes. But my mother hustled. And what I will say this about growing up in the projects in the 60s, my mother and her friends would get together and have fish fries to help the other mothers who couldn't pay their rent, right? I remember as a little kid packing a little to go plates to give to the people. They would have card parties, right? They would support one another. We could be out there playing, and the mama on fifth floor could holler down there, "Get out from over there. You know you ain't supposed to be doing that." When I tell you it was tight knit, it was tight knit. And a lot of Black mothers today, single and married, work together as a unit to make things happen. Like you say, your family, your ecosystem in Arizona, your ecosystem here, my ecosystem. I look at various different women out here, doing what they need to do. I have women coming to me saying, "How did you do it? What was it like?" Blended family. That's a whole nother, topic we could jump into, but not today. That's a whole nother struggle in our culture that we don't talk about. Mental health, we don't talk about. It needs to be talked about more. And like you said earlier, where are the support systems? How come they're not more tangible?
Mm-hmm.
How come they're not more out front for women and men, single fathers too? I give it up. I see the daddies with the baby bag on their shoulder, got the babies, and they moving around trying to make it happen. So I honor single parenthood. It means a lot to me, especially in our community. Our men are out here trying to do what they need to do. I will say that some of our women can be a little something sometimes, and so can the men. But the shift is real. It's more so the sister and be tripping, and the brother and be out here trying to do what they need to do. So I'm gonna stop off for that.
No, I'm
I'm
gonna
going.
add something to that too.
Okay.
Just to add a little bit of context, I saw this video about this Arab dude, and his mom was telling him If you ever find yourself needing help and you don't know what to turn, ask a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he never thought anything about it. He's just like, okay, I'll ask a black woman. And he said it came to the point to where he needed some help and he went to ask a black woman and they embraced him, they cared for him, they showed him the way, you know. So I think our culture, we do have that compassion where we are willing to help. We go above and beyond. We'll get a shirt off our back. We
Yep.
feed your kids. Bring them over here. You know, that's not our cousin, but that's our cousin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think in our culture that we have that family dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're always willing to help. And I just think that is part of who we are as women,
Mm-hmm.
just to be nurturers,
Mm-hmm.
black women too. But yeah, I just wanted to add that tidbit that it's not un it's not as uncommon as we think it is. We think that people look at us crazy, but they don't. They may say they do, but they really don't.
That's the narrative of society. We know within our community that we have our ecosystem is tight. My ecosystem in raising kids and being a young mom and a young wife was tight. Like people who would check me. You out nah, you was wrong for that. Nah,
Mm-hmm.
you was out of order. But nah, you was out of order. And so having people like that in your ecosystem is necessary, needed, and required. You can't have somebody in your system that keep agreeing with you when you messy. That's messy. But anyway.
Who don't pull up for you when
Who
you
don't pull up
need
for
them
you when you
to?
need them?
Because I think about my best friend Monique and I think about all the things that she's asked me to do, but then again, I think about all the things that I've needed her to do for me too. I don't think it's nothing that we wouldn't do for one another.
Right. I have situations where young women needed to move and they were in a horrific situation, and I just had to pull up in my truck and
Mm-hmm.
help them get their stuff in before the guy got back because it was a volatile situation, and help them move. I've had to help pay some phone bills. I've had to help support in various different
Yeah.
ways because as a mentor and as a woman of God, there's no way in the world a woman gonna come to me and need help and I'm not gonna help her, right? To the best of my ability. Now, what I've learned is I have to ask myself, is this my assignment?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that come to me and presented to me is not my assignment. So I'm understanding that. But as a community, we are we supersede a lot of what the narrative is out there in the world.
I think so too. And then black women are some of the most highly educated, highly successful, highly accolades, and that's not in the media.
No,
You
it's
know what I
not.
mean?
So let's find a way to change
That
the
narrative.
narrative within ourselves. I don't really care what society says. I'm worried about what we do for one
But do you
another.
think that's a cultural thing too? Like, I don't really care what society says. Do you think that's like more of a cultural shame or cultural jacket that we wear because of our history in this country? You know what I mean? We had to have that hard skin, that rough skin, that callus on our skin in order to
To
not,
survive.
yeah, in order to not be like drowned by the
I
influx of.
I will say that I remember when you were 3 years old and you were in the hospital with asthma, and I worked for Harris Bank, and my boss was a white German woman, and so I had vacation time and sick time. So I tried to leave you the first night. Your grandmother came and you was like, "No, I want my mommy." So I had to stay there for the 3 nights you were in the hospital. So when I get back to work, this woman tells me I'm getting 3 days unpaid. Now I'm already a single mama out here struggling, so she gave me 3 days unpaid. I was so pissed. Well, because I had a nanny. What does that got to do with me and my current situation? So you're trying to say because you had a nanny and you can come to work every day, I should be able to
She
have the
hired a
same.
nanny for
She
her kids. Her
yes,
kids had a nanny.
yeah, her kids had a nanny. So what I'm saying is, when I was younger, it bothered me. Or when they saw me with a pager, when you came home from school, you had to page me to let me know you made it in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Latchkey kid, you coming home. This woman said I must be a drug dealer because I had a pager. So when I'm talking about when I was in corporate America, I was like 21, 22. I was young, naive, didn't know a lot, but I knew that was wrong. So I had to get this hard shell on. I really don't care because I'm a wettest pager because my daughter need to page me. You can think of it, I'm a drug dealer all day long. I don't care. And at 60, I really like for real, don't care of what society thinks because I've disproven society because they said I had a baby at 17, I would never be anything. I had a baby at 17, I would never go anywhere. I had a white woman come in and tell me you need to train me on your how to do your job because you're never going to be nothing. I wish I could see her now, right? So there's certain things in society that cause me to have a hardship.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking too.
So evaluating through life, and now at 60, I think about some of that I've scaled off, but some of it I have to have because it will make you then you the angry black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I check you, then I'm angry.
Mm-hmm.
But back up out my face and get up off me, right? So I can check you in a very educated and very diplomatic way. And you won't know you checked until you've been checked. So I've learned different ways to filter that anger and how I look at it. But in many cases, it's a shield of protection
Mm-hmm.
because if I'm so concerned about what they doing, I can't focus in on my game.
Right.
And our game needs to be tight in this world. You can't be lacking, right? You got to be on top of it. So that was good. That was a good
Big
dialogue, right? So hopes and aspirations. I think we have one more section, but hopes and aspirations. How do you balance your personal goals with parenting?
Me personally, I'm a time manager. I'm a teacher, so everything is managed down to the T. I'll schedule naps. Okay, I'll tell you on Tuesday I'm taking a nap at 12 from 12 to 2. So mainly is my time management. I have a schedule. I have a routine. My son knows the routine. He knows when it's time to go. He knows when it's time to eat. He knows when it's time to go. I mean, me being in that parental role is just you have to have consistency. You have to have repetition. So the kids get used to it for one, and then managing my personal goals. Like everything I said, I just have to have a routine. I have to manage my time properly. I keep a schedule. If I just start listening to my mom years ago about writing stuff down, I'll probably be a lot further than where I am as far as my success. But for the most part, it's just routine, time management, and keeping a calendar, keeping your appointments together,
Calendar on your dog.
and making sure your kids are aware of their expectations, the
Mm-hmm.
routines,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure they stay on top of their responsibilities too as a child.
Mm-hmm. And so different ages require different levels of responsibility,
Yeah.
right? So y'all grew up with calendars on y'all doors, right? And you had to write down what assignments was coming up. You had to write down who was going to the dentist office, who was going to this, because I had to not manage only me. I had to manage the whole household.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a major calendar in our bedroom, and then each one of you had your own calendars. And write it down. You got a science project due. I got so sick of these last minute. We got a science project. I got a project due tomorrow. Running to Walgreens, spending all that money for the science
I'm
project.
still a procrastinator. Sorry.
So what did I do? I went out and bought goo gobs of boards, borders, all kind of supplies. That for me took the edge off. You have to be able to manage your time. When I was in undergrad, you were, I think, were out of the house at that time, and your brothers, Chris, would take them to their grandmama's house.
Okay.
So I could do homework. I would do homework all weekend. Wouldn't go to church, wouldn't do nothing. Would just do homework. So you have to figure out what works best for you. Now that worked for me. That might not work for you. You have to find a system that works for you. But like you said, consistency. And your clothes on Saturday, all your uniform. Well, you didn't have uniforms. Your brothers had to iron their clothes and have all the uniforms out. You know how many shirts and how many pants, and get your clothes out. What are you wearing to school in the morning? Don't wake up in the morning because you got to leave out. So as hard as that was to be consistent on y'all to do that, it was what was needed. Well, how many minutes does it take to wash up in the bathroom? 15. Y'all all had 15 minutes in and out. We had one bathroom, right?
Yep.
It wasn't no joke. 15 minutes. Don't be in that sleep. Who would be in that sleep? We ain't gonna say no names on the sleep. So, but that's all right. That's all right. What we learn, right? And so you have to be able to have your own management system. If I write it down, I'll remember it. If I don't write it down, chances are I'm
It
not gonna
won't get
remember it.
done.
That's for me, right? So, thank you for that. So this is the last question. Have you felt supported or ignored by government programs or policies?
I'll be quite honest. The way I came about parenthood was through foster care. And when I was a foster parent, there was an abundance of opportunities for foster parents to come get free toys, free clothes, especially during the holidays. So, as far as the government supporting foster parents and adoptive parents, I think they do a pretty good job. But as far as the government, I don't know. I guess when you look at programs like food stamps and programs like Section 8, things like that, I don't know if it's a double edged sword. I believe our single parents or our families can appreciate those assistance options. But I think they can do a lot more when it comes to aiding and supporting the family dynamics. So I won't say that they haven't completely done anything, but I feel like there are more options. I mean, if you take half the salary of one governor for 1 year, ain't no telling how many pampers and how many resources and how much baby food and how much, how many um, if they redistribute the resources, I feel like there will be a lot more programs available for families.
But this was a great conversation. Thank you for being my first guest.
Oh, thank you for having
I
me.
appreciate that. It just kind of worked out. You
I
came to
think so.
Chicago and was able to sit at the table with
Perfect
me.
timing.
So thank you. Now, when this is aired, we're gonna on my website motherslove.org. You will find a link to the journal page, which is a guided reflection for single mothers. And what I want single mothers to know, a couple of affirmations. To every mother here tonight, you are not invisible. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are powerful. You are enough. And remember this one thing, there is nothing like the love of a mother. Thank you.